All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with a very interesting video. We are about to deep dive the mysterious death of David Wilcock. We have to be real. This is a situation that has shocked thousands of people within the UFO community. And based on the official narrative, no one's really buying it. They're struggling to understand why a determined individual like David Wilcock would go to the extent of taking his own life. It doesn't make any sense. And even the official narrative that's been given, which I'm going to quickly recap on, doesn't make any sense. However, we have got a very interesting theory that is going around on the internet that I'm going to bring to your attention, so don't go anywhere. And we're also going to be back with a compilation of videos, part 2, the things that David Wilcock said before he died, so you guys don't want to go anywhere. These are extremely interesting videos. But what we are about to dive into right now, ladies and gentlemen, needs your full attention, so don't go anywhere, because this is extremely interesting and could explain what potentially happened to David and the reasons why he's not here today. Let's get into it. I was on X and I found Kerry Cassidy's account. Now, I ain't heard of Kerry Cassidy for years. She is someone that done interviews with UFO researchers, contactees. I remember watching her videos over a decade ago. I didn't even know she was still about, but I've stumbled across her X account and she published this post with a screenshot of David Wilcock and Chris Besker. Now, this is off David Wilcock's YouTube channel. In the headline of the post, she actually puts "How David Wilcock Fooled a Bunch of Fools," article by Kerry Cassidy. And I thought, hold on, this is extremely interesting. Let me dive into this. Now, here we have the article that she's published on her website. And what she says in this article is extremely interesting. I'm going to need you guys to hit that like button. So in this article, she's put her own timeline. It says the real or fake timeline. And she says that David invested over $1 million in a free energy aerospace propulsion startup business. They called it Stavati. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Stavati. But this is the reason for the screenshot, what we just looked at, whereby he is sitting next to the other chap. They're doing podcasts and they're talking about aerospace. But in the next sentence, she goes on to say, Stavati gets slammed with a bunch of lawsuits. We don't know what those lawsuits are. She doesn't go into detail about these lawsuits, but lawsuits, alleged lawsuits. The company are slammed with these alleged lawsuits. If anyone has any more information on this, feel free to drop me an email. Email can be found on the screen. It then says here, Stavati also gets an infusion of funds. David is then named as the director of technology for Stavati. He becomes the director of new technology for this company, and then this is where Kerry claims it all starts to go downhill. She says David starts making videos playing his crazy father. Now, I don't know what she means by that, but I remember in one of the video clips that we watched in part 1 of things that David Wilcock said before he died, there was a clip where David was having a meltdown and the lights in the room were red. I think we're going to need to re-watch that clip in part 2. We are going to be back with part 2, so don't go anywhere. But she says David starts telling people he's depressed and broke. And this is extremely weird, because if I put a pin in that for a moment and switch over to the official narrative, it says here that the family state that he struggled with long-term depression and severe financial debt. Severe financial debt. Now, make sense for him to be investing $1 million, $1 whole million into a company if he's got severe financial debt. That makes no sense. Family go on to say that they want the attention to stay on mental health and compassion. So they want the focus, again, they want the focus and the attention to stay on mental health and compassion rather than conspiracy theories, saying there is no evidence of foul play. No evidence. However, others online will disagree because they will say, well, where's the evidence from the body cams? And the story itself doesn't really make that much sense. As authorities responded to a 911 call involving what they described as a mental health crisis, this is the quick recap. The officers found him outside the residence. So the officers saw him outside the residence with a weapon. Officials say he took his own life shortly after they arrived. Okay, so after they've arrived, he's taken his own life outside of the residence. Where's the witnesses? Where are the witnesses? There must be witness statements to corroborate this story. Where are they? Do we have even statements from the police officers at this point? But allegedly, when the police officers arrived, David shot in the air. He shot in the air, then blew his brains out. So it's kind of like he shot in the air to warn the police that he has a gun, but still decided to blow his brains out. I mean, in an alternative scenario, if someone shot in the air and the police carrying weapons might have felt endangered, is it possible they could have shot him? I mean, just theorizing in that scenario. He's got a gun, they notice he's got a gun, he's acting wild, shoots in the air, so one of them shoot him. Maybe they shoot him to disarm him, but kill him. We don't know. We have no statements. All we can do is speculate. What we do have is the family wanting to support the narrative of him struggling with severe mental health and severe financial debt. Even though in the last year, he's more or less been investing a lot of time in this aerospace company. $1 million of his own money has been put into this company. We don't know what's happened with this company at this moment in time. We don't know if the company's gone bust, what's happened with the lawsuits that were just mentioned, even if there were even any lawsuits. Again, guys that are watching, I'm gonna need you in the comments to let me know your thoughts. Jump into my email if you've got any information pertaining to this company. But back to what Kerry Cassidy was saying on her website. So after David's become the director of this company, this is when he starts making weird videos. David starts telling people he's depressed and he has no money, he's broke. David starts parting his hair in the middle, making videos looking unbalanced, saying how hard his day was. Now, I've seen these videos, haven't looked too much into them, but again, we're gonna be back with part 2 of things that David Wilcock said before he died. There could be a number of parts to that, ladies and gentlemen, because I am a big fan of David Wilcock. I'm a big fan of the work that he does, what he has been doing, big fan of the UFO research and what's going on outside of this world, this planet. I'm extremely fascinated with all of that. So we are here to understand what truly happens to David and if this theory that Kerry Cassidy has holds any water. You know, that is exactly what we want to do, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. She goes on to say, David supposedly calls the police on himself, saying he is experiencing a mental health crisis. This is another thing, this is extremely interesting. I asked in the last video, who called the police? Was it David? Was it someone else? Got Kerry telling us it was David that called the police. We've got no statements from any witnesses, so it can't have been a witness that called the police. You have to ask yourself, why would David call the police if he's having a mental health breakdown? Why not call a family member? Why not call partner, best friend, someone that could help understand the situation that he's in? Why call the police, knowing that some random dons are just gonna turn up to your gaff who you don't know? Like, you don't know these dons. What help are they gonna be? What help are the police going to be? Let's be real, doesn't make any sense. But it says officially that David called the police over calling anyone else in his phone book. He called the police and told them that he was experiencing a mental health crisis. The police show up. David fires a test shot, then shoots himself in the head. When you think about this pattern and how it's kind of played out, it kind of makes you think about the weird technology that people say governments have been using, like MKU. Because again, the story itself, even the official narrative, sounds like David was in some type of trance. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know. It's all alleged. It's all conspiratorial at this point. But it goes on to say here, one report says they found him after the fact on his couch, presumably dead. I wish you would have actually tagged the reports to this. Maybe I can quickly find this. Let me see if ChatGPT can help me out here. According to AI, there's nothing solid reporting that he was found on his couch. Saying that, AI can be wrong. AI can definitely be wrong. I'm only using AI just to kind of source these reports and source articles and source things that have been said in the past. But AI can be wrong because it's come back to me in the past and told me, oh yeah, this never happened, or I couldn't find this, but I found it, or I told it to do it again. I prompted it to do it again and it found it. So according to what AI is saying, you know, the rumor found on a couch could come from people telling a story on social media. Everyone assumes, she goes on to say, he killed himself, but it takes law enforcement more than 48 hours to identify him, question marks. A goodbye letter emerges. Okay, this is something we have to come back to. We have to look at that goodbye letter. I think he done it in a video. Was it a video? I'm not too sure. Comment down below, let me know, but we will be back and bringing that to your attention. The family states rather quickly there was no foul play. They state rather quickly there was no foul play without fully seeing the autopsy, without fully understanding the whole situation that took place at the residence. Are they just going with what the police say? Are they buying into the police statement? A statement that we haven't heard? I don't know. That takes us back to what Kerry Cassidy started this article with. the £1 million investment or the $1 million investment into this startup company. It's interesting. It's conspiratorial, but it's definitely interesting. Excuse me, but how do they know? Question mark, she says. They live on the East Coast and David supposedly killed himself in Colorado. How would they know if there's no foul play? I mean, she's kind of right there. Case closed. It says Jay, who is or was embroiled in a bunch of lawsuits with David Wilcock and name been redacted over their Gaia TV shows, appears on a podcast with 3 others saying how difficult David was to work with and how he needs help. And that was back in 2015. So she's redacting names here. There's 2 names that have been redacted. I mean, all we have is a letter, J. And apparently this person and someone else, as well as David, were embroiled in a bunch of lawsuits. And this was over their Gaia TV show. Now, Gaia, fantastic channel, another binge-watching channel. But the best show of all time is Ancient Aliens. There's nothing that tops Ancient Aliens. All of those other alien shows, I buy into them, I watch them, but nothing tops Ancient Aliens. The narrators, the researchers, the archaeologists, all of those guys on there, absolutely legends. It says all 4 on the show commiserate over how crazy David is and how he needed help but refused it. Of course, there is no professional jealousy going on here. I think that's meant to be sarcasm, right? Of course, there is no professional jealousy going on here. Conspiracy pundits all over figure there is no conspiracy because they figure David was crazy and immediately accepts the mainstream press story without investigating. Very, very true. So what she's kind of insinuating is that there's been a build-up over the years to make it look like David is just losing the plot. And really and truly, there's something else going on here. Something else is going on. That's what she's saying. That's what she's implying. She says, except for Kerry Cassidy, who doesn't accept it and states David did not kill himself. All 4 podcasters immediately decided she is also crazy. I mean, that was a very interesting article by Kerry Cassidy. It kind of explains a lot. Not everything in there is fact. I mean, she is theorizing based on some facts, but it is speculation. I think a lot of people understanding the timelines, understanding the information, I think a lot of people will buy into what Kerry Cassidy is saying because there's thousands of people, hundreds or thousands of people who do not believe David Wilcock killed himself. I need you guys to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if we're newly watching, turn your notification bells on, leave all your thoughts and all your comments down below. That's really important. Really important. I mean, if you've got more information that could help us understand what's going on here, including information on the company that he was working with, he invested in, then yeah, send me an email. Drop all of that in an email. The email can be found in the description down below, ladies and gentlemen, so drop me an email. But other than that, leave your thoughts, leave your comments, turn your notification bells on, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.